Hi, folks. Welcome to Lives from the Tabletop. We're once again here going to be discussing one of the precons now available from the 5th edition set. We're going to be looking into Ministry with one of my favorite players of the deck, Simi, aka Infinite.
Hi, guys.
He's a fan of raising the roof. There's quite a lot. Wherever he goes, the roofs are very high.
Although ironically, my studio is in a loft, so I'm very much like this. So
raise the roof so that you can just about get inside the loft.
Just about get inside, yeah, absolutely.
Right. So anyway, let's talk about Ministry. You recently ousted me yourself playing it.
Yeah, that wasn't quite the precon.
No,
but it was certainly based off of it. Yeah, that was nationals now, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was nationals. Yeah,
and there's a real theme about these new stealth bleed decks that they're bringing out ever since the Malk one. Not after the Malk one dropped, so the Ministry one dropped in the next set.
Yeah,
and they released a card called the Platinum Protocol, which I believe there's 7 copies of in the in that V5 precon.
Yeah. And can you remember what it does from memory?
Oh yeah, I mean I've played it enough. When's
the last time you read it? 2 years ago.
Its top one is so it's got 3 disciplines on it: obfuscate, presence. Obfuscate, presence, protean. You can use all 3 of the disciplines, which in itself is not as busted as the fact that the crypt can then use all 3 disciplines, just because these Anarch cards are insanely efficient at the moment because of that. So obfuscate +1 stealth, presence +1 bleed, and then the corruption counter on a minion controlled by target Methuselah that you've bled for protean. And yeah, the corruption counter is kind of can be good. However, +1 stealth and +1 bleed at basic on a card, it's just so efficient. Vita's, especially stealth bleed, in my opinion anyway, is how efficiently can you oust the first person, so you get that boost of 6 pull, perhaps another vamp out, perhaps just a little bit of safety. The fact that it's on 1 card, so you don't need to, even if someone's not blocking, if they haven't got any kind of intercept whatsoever on your left, +1 stealth, +1 bleed is just basically knock 2 pull off.
I think that's another, like, the unsung heroes of the deck, I think, are also new cards, which people don't talk about a lot, because, like you say, it all comes with one stealth built in, which means that some players, some ignorant players who don't pack intercept, are going to sit there just watching you bleed them, and you're not going to get to play a single stealth modifier in your deck, which is a huge problem. Anyone who's played stealth bleed out there, which is probably everyone, knows that's usually what hinders you in the end. You're sitting there with nothing but stealth, just begging for bleed modifiers. So this deck comes with a card Form of the Cobra, which has got a basic that's basically flavor text. Strike, steal, 1 blood, or life.
The edge case card. The edge case text.
But the advanced protean is usable as the actions announced +1 stealth, even if the stealth's not needed, which lets you just get it out your hand without any issue.
It's a great cycle for and it's good to know that when you've got something that says even if stealth isn't needed yet, and you've got someone that's not blocking on your left, just play it. Just get out your hand.
Yeah, exactly.
Get rid of it. It's like, bleed this for 2 stealth. At 2 stealth as well. I'm not a great fan of the cards. I would rather see probably one of the better cards that they printed, again, Revelation of the Serpent.
Yeah,
because I feel as though if someone's not blocking, the +1 bleed to make it 3. Usually the perfect amount of bleed 3. Not with this deck though. So not with this one.
The basic of Revelation of the Serpent is bonding either mode, so you can play it when you don't need stealth, or when you need stealth. So it's fantastic. And the advanced, I can't recall, but it's something pretty powerful.
It
Does
is
it let you unlock?
burn. I think that one's the burn 2 counters and off 2 corruption counters, and you unlock a vamp. Yeah,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
which again, if someone's not blocking and you've just stacked up corruption counters on them, free unlock.
very powerful.
Yeah, solid. But yeah, just a phenomenal card for the deck, especially when if you're using the lower part of the crypt, who may not have advanced of all disciplines, +1 stealth, +1 bleed. Just amazing.
Yeah, having advanced bonding at basic Protean is just crazy good.
Yeah, it's nuts.
And another good card in our aspect is Form of the Bat. That's it's a versatile card, and it can be used to minus intercept. So unlike stealth, minus intercept can be played when it's not required. So you've got 3 cards there that the Malks are probably envious of, sitting with their obfuscate cards. Just absolutely sandbagging.
I don't think Form of the Bat comes in the.
It doesn't come in this list, but
yeah,
it came in the Gangrel at the same time.
Yeah, it did.
So
it was in the same set. Yeah. And crucially, if you haven't got the combat ends in hand, it gives you that maneuver to just fly away in bat form.
Incredibly efficient and versatile card. It's just it's bonkers. It's one of the cards that makes the Gangrel deck so good for sure.
Yeah, one of the cards that's not called Thing.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of cards are busted in that deck. We'll get to that eventually.
Yeah, you can leave me out of that one. It's one of my pet hates at seeing someone play that deck, Thalco.
Hey, I've only played it like twice.
Yeah, man, at major tournaments.
Yeah, I've only played it like twice. It's just that you make the final every time because it plays itself.
It's just useful. Yeah. It's just so good. It's another. It's the efficiency meta at the moment that we're in with these anarchs.
Yeah, definitely.
And
my guys are very powerful. They can do everything, and they can do it at full capacity.
Yeah. And again, another card for the Ministry deck, which they've. I think this one was a what are they thinking? Is Enchanting Gaze, which +1
which
stealth.
Not to be confused with our local VTES community of homosexual men who are very, very enchanting. It's not them. G8.
Yeah, those are going to get plastered all over the VKN now for being homophobic.
Yeah, Simi thinks gays are overpowered in 2024.
Yeah, in China, you can't put 6 copies of that card in. Yeah,
that's nearly as many as there are Platinum Protocol in
there. I think one less. I think but so +1 stealth in non-obfuscate disciplines. So Protean Presence doesn't cost you a blood either, which is uncharacteristic of Protean stealth cards. It's the fact that even there's a 3 cap in that crypt, Milton Fox. So he doesn't get the stealth off the Platinum Protocol, but gets the stealth off that card.
True, yeah.
So it's
all of a sudden cycles.
Yeah, I know, more cycles, more and insanely a block fails as well.
Because one stealth in this one's that normally you have to pay for it or don't get it all. Getting a big bonus block fails as well, and you can still play Elder Impersonation, of course, as well. So you still got your Elder Impersonation in there for some of the bigger vamps, which is if someone's trying to eagle sight block you, that's exactly where you want to drop that one. Yeah,
Elder Impersonation's not one of those that's doesn't come in the deck, but it's definitely one that's available quite widely and should be put in straight away. 1 or 2 copies.
It may have been in the New Blood, There's one in the New Blood. Yeah.
Insane. Yeah, they put a lot more obfuscate in that, didn't they?
Yeah, I think it's quite nice when they do that. To focus on a different approach.
They put a Faceless Knight in.
Faceless Knight's the front of the 5th edition box artwork, isn't it? Samurai.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
that card's crazy though. Like it's the biggest threat. Like so when you were bleeding me last Saturday, that was my biggest worry was Faceless Knight because I was playing what's it called, Protected District.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, try and block. You go stealth. I go intercept. You go stealth. I go intercept. You go stealth or block fails or whatever. I go Protected District. If you then push it to make it 1. Oh no, sorry, not even if you don't push it up, if I just reduce it, the action's still successful, which then locks my vampire. So I'm like, oh, it's an absolute blowout. So that's why I literally didn't try and block any of your guys with advanced obfuscates because I'm just like, it's like okay, basic. You're like, yeah, I'm like, okay, block it. Because the card's just so good.
Yeah, because the bleeds weren't successful. The break the bonds part wasn't happening either. So yeah, that was a frustrating game. That one, I'm not gonna lie.
Good. It was good. It was, the rest of the day was awful for me, so at least I got to make someone else miserable for a bit.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Making my friends sad is my biggest.
It's the way forward. It's absolutely the way forward. Yeah, there are the unsung hero though I think of this ministry deck, and where it really really shines is Party Out of Bounds, because we've mentioned a lot about the forward pressure now with Platinum Protocol, the stealth cards that are available to it, and out of discipline stealth, bleed modifiers. Haven't mentioned some of the most egregious stuff in there yet, but I am going to give a special mention to Party Out of Bounds because it's won me so many games. With it basically says on it, gain 2 pool. I don't care. I know it isn't. I know it's reduce a bleed, but the margins that Vites is played on, especially if someone's not, especially with the recent changes to Ash tablets, so people aren't just gaining masses and masses of pool anymore freely or that quickly. That 2 pool swing when someone's bleeding you for 1s and 2s, and you can just ignore it, keep the edge if you want, and carry on going forward, it's massive for a deck like this, which needs to play on its momentum. So yeah, whereas I'm probably not the biggest fan of On the Qui Vive, I would much rather have the unlocked vamp from Revelation of the Serpent, or if you're sticking dabblers in, the dabbler unlocked one as well would be basically phenomenal with this. The Party Out of Bounds is just it's so versatile as well, because its majority is going to be used for just reducing, but it has intercept on it for free. Again, another thing in Protean that doesn't really happen. They don't really get intercept for free in Protean. And so something, if someone's bled you being bounced at the 1 stealth, and you need that little bit, if it's a 3-point bleed and you really don't want to lose the pool, and randomly votes as well in the deck with the barons in, just because why not? But anyone watching this, you're not sure about Party Out of Bounds. Party Out of Bounds means gain 2 pool when you use it. So just use it.
I got blown out by it one time in the GP. I was playing Ventry Law Firm. I call a referendum, thinking no one's blocking this, and then the ministry player just goes 1 intercept. And I'm like, sorry, what? What? Just blocks, like it was like a political stranglehold or something important, And I'm like, oh, that's really bad. I was not expecting that at all.
Exactly. In the version I played at the last Nationals of this deck, there was a Kana doing something on my left, and thinking that they were going to get it through. The 1 intercept block, okay, Aga to Torpor, because Donnybrook's the thing. And sadly, he had the Qui Vive for the diablerie attempt, but that was a game over in turn 3 if you catch it. So extremely versatile. And
you couldn't block fails them 3 times. What's going on?
Yeah, so sometimes when you just haven't got them in hand, and I usually play it short sleeves as well, so I can't just
man,
pull them out. It's just one
hindering yourself there.
Yes, there's all those all those moves that I just can't do as a pro. Yeah, leave them to the pro card players, right?
Yeah. For the Magic Pro Tour or whatever.
That's it, man. That's it for the Magic Pro Tour. But yeah, I think so there are a lot of the that we've talked about a few cards there. We haven't even got onto the fact that they can play Earth Meld and Form of Mist. There's so much bonkers stuff in this, and if you tweak them up, sadly I've never actually won a tournament with this, so I can't just be like, oh, go and look at my list for this. But if you tweak the numbers for this, you can get a really good flow going, and Earth Meld and Form of Mist are, basically a Stealth Bleed deck shouldn't be able to, in my opinion, strike combat ends at all, because if you catch a Stealth Bleed deck, you need to punish it, right? Especially something with the majority of the crypt is under. They've got 2 8-caps, but let's ignore Farouk Abdel Qadir because he's not really. He's a combat monster, so they have got 2 8-caps, but the rest of them are 7 and under, which are pretty mid range.
Most, as you mentioned earlier, they've got a New Blood brought another 3-cap, right?
Oh right, yeah, of course. The New Blood brought out Coach Tyrone as well, and another 8-cap. But all of these guys, and even some of the 6-caps, some of the 6-caps can play the Protean, the Earth Meld and Form Mist advanced, which is mad for if you're smart enough and you save it for the blowout, either what the bleed that you want through, or the you've got me continue at 1, or you've blocked that action, or you have been caught, but you now need to reduce some bleeds behind you, allowing an Earth Meld and Form of Mist, 2-strike combat cards that don't really cost any blood. Form of Mist, I know if you want to continue it, but I don't think Stealth Bleed should have that, and it's something that you can absolutely abuse with this deck, because Earth Meld, insane. If you've ever used Earth Meld,
well, some of the Stanislav has been doing for 25 years or whatever now.
Well, you add in Crimmer Think into this deck, and you've got multi-act as well. And that's not exactly once per. It's not. It's basically 3 freak drives in it.
Yeah.
So changing this deck around a bit and using the bit of the New Blood New Blood deck list, which has some of the votes in, like it's got Reckless Agitation and Revolutionary Council. You call a vote.
Reckless Agitation, play that, and Oxalon, I think, or rather than Waters of Duat, you could run Child of Revolution, and you can unlock after that because it requires an Anarch, and anything that requires a Baron requires an Anarch as well. So Constant Revolution.
There's a really good target for Crim, I think, as well in the Ministry deck, which is Vivian the Sixth, who has Thaumaturgy, or Blood Sorcery as it's known now, basic. So you just put Achromathink in play and get 3 unlocks after.
You can.
They cost a pool, they do, but it's at will as opposed to needing the card.
Yeah,
which
real powerful.
Is real powerful, especially because she's a Baron. She's a 7-cap and can start, call your vote, unlock Platinum Protocol Bleed, unlock multi-act. It's like mini Stanislava, if you like.
I really like. We mentioned before we went online. The Sergio Bueno in the New Blood, really powerful card. 8-cap, isn't he? And
he's an 8-cap, yeah.
He's a Baron as well, and his card special text is great. Like he burn a blood whenever someone tries to block you. So they burn a blood to try and block you, not the other way.
He's got a free Croc Stun.
Yeah,
if they've got a corruption counter on them.
If they've got a corruption counter, that's right. But you can also give them Hierophant, so you can put a Hierophant on him as well for extra laughs. So I quite like the idea of doing like a Star Vampire deck with him, using like Chromathink, Vivian as support, get it into play. You can just free unlock. You can even use Mylan Horse Seed to unlock him as well.
Yeah,
he's bonkers. He's all kinds.
There's a real interesting thing I was trying to brew with him and Cave of Apples,
Yeah.
Crim of Ink, and then I think Corruption as well. So stacking corruption counters on something, and because you've got Cave of Apples down, and you've played Corruption, just stealing. You could just in one turn with a Crim of Think down. So Vivian the Sixth, if you set up Vivian the Sixth, Sergio can start stealing 4 caps just in one turn.
Yeah.
And Anarch meta at the moment, 4 caps are around quite, especially 4 caps that can play Platinum Protocol.
True, actually, yeah.
So
odds are they'll have one of the disciplines that you need, right?
Yeah. So there's definitely a deck there for anyone brave enough to build it.
The Brujar got the presence. Ravnos has got the presence in the Obfuscate. Gangrel have got the Gangrel have got the Protean. So like you can just steal vampires that work with your cards, which is great.
Yes, it's a good idea. Where how far it will get, I'm not sure, because you steal one vamp and everyone starts going, "Oh, he's a threat."
Yeah.
But yeah, it's Brewer's game, so we do like that stuff. I'm not a massive fan of Sergio Bueno though in the versions of Ministry that I would play. So just kind of deviating a little bit from the precon.
Yeah.
Anything that's kind of the way I usually play this is anything above 6 is cut. So Vivian, even though I've had a love letter to Vivian the Sixth, I don't play her in this low to the ground style deck that I do. I think Crystal Lynn, Alicia Tucker, Jenny Silver are the highest, and then the 5 caps and 4 3s, because they all have your Platinum Protocol discipline, and they can pretty much all, apart from the little guy, what's his name, Milton Fox. Apart from Milton, they can all party out of bounds. So you put the Dabbler on the correct guys who can unlock if you need to party out of bounds after you've successfully Platinum Protocoled, and just start stealthing all of your bleeds through. You start, you start building up those VPs very quickly with this, because it is extremely fast out of the gates. 16 Platinum Protocols, no Enchant Kindreds, no Entrancements, no Heart of the City. Just use that as your kind of engine. And then obviously one of the best Mastercards to have ever been printed, Club Illusion. Platinum Pro.
You put it in every deck.
Yeah, even if they're not Anarchs, I'll put it in.
Yeah, I was gonna say I can see you just putting it in, going, it's really good, isn't it? Getting your guys out and going, hang on, I can't use this.
I can't use this, but I don't care. It doesn't require an Anarch. It just you can just put it down.
Yeah,
one.
You can still play it. Yeah,
I know. But yeah, Club Illusion, Platinum Protocol, that's already a bleed for 3 with most of your vamps. Put any kind of pump on that. True Love's Face is in there as well, which was another block fails if they don't want to play the pool. We forgot about that one.
Yeah, it's really good.
And if you're brave enough, I can't remember what deck Monkey Wrench came in.
I think that was maybe one of the New Blood things.
It wasn't in the New Blood one, but you can definitely play Monkey Wrench.
Yeah,
1 or 2 copies of.
It might have been a New Blood Gangrel or something like that.
Yeah, possibly. I think it was in the V5 one somewhere. I can't remember where though. But yeah, your bleed is, you suddenly gone from a 4-point bleed to a 7-point bleed. Yeah, it started costing. Yeah. It does cost you for that full action 4 blood. But for an oust, then if you've got Dabbler on the guy as well, and these aren't things like, there might be people listening going, "Oh, you're going for Magical Christmas Tree land there," but it's really not. The card flow in this deck is so good that you should play more Club Illusions. You shouldn't just play the 1. You should probably play 4. I usually do, just so you see it. But the card flow is so good because you don't actually need a lot of, you've got everything on Platinum Protocol that you need to bleed with Club Illusion for 3. Anything else is just a bonus. If they've got some sort of, if they're trying to block you, even better. If they're not, and you'll know this from your local meta, sticking something like specialization to bin off 2 stealth cards, same name, Gaze and Pool.
Yeah, unfortunately, not had a reprint recently.
No, that is a bit of a legacy one to get hold of. But Dreams of the Sphinx, bakes up big hands, and Visit from the Capuchin had a reprint.
Yeah, that was in 5th edition Malks, I think.
Yeah, stick one of those in, make your hands really big, and then cycle all the crap out of it. And there's so many options, and you always need to go for the oust when you can with this, because you win off momentum.
Yeah.
There's a lot of text. There's a lot of stuff on things like Codex of the Damned, and other people have written on various other blogs that talk about getting to the 3-player game and winning from there. You don't want to do that with low to the ground stealth bleed. It works the same as Kindred Spirits or the new Break the Bonds Ravnos. You want to bleed harder, you want to bleed fast, and not particularly care about other dynamics.
You want to be the guy, the reason that it's become a 3-player game.
Yeah, because you will, in 90% of your games, you will get the first out. 90% of your games, in 55 to 60% of your games, you will get the first oust, because talking tournaments now, not just your local Monday, Tuesday nights, you will do, because there's so many people playing stuff which isn't designed to counter stealth bleed. Even though, like, rule number 1 is, can you deal with stealth bleed when you're building a deck? Yeah, the people go, oh, I don't see it very often. We'll play Clown Car or something funky, equally like Call the Great Beast. All the flashy, sexy stuff. If you get that on your left, you're laughing, because you're like, that's cool. Can you block 1 stealth?
Yeah,
they're gonna say no.
Yeah,
you have 3 oust. And it's 3 vampires with this, each bleeding for 3 a turn, turns into 4 vampires after your first oust. That's the way that I look at. That's the way that when I first saw this list leak 2 years ago now, 3 years, however many years it's been out.
Yeah,
that's exactly what I was thinking with it. I thought Platinum Protocol is such a busted card.
You're right. You get players who they'll be like, okay, I'm going to get this guy out, then I'm going to get Ankle Cog on him, and then when I've got the cog on, I'll do this action, and then I'll be able to unlock, and then from then on, every turn I'm doing this. Whereas you're like, that's cool, but you're on 3 pool, and they're like, oh, I haven't got my cog on yet, and you're like, yeah. It was you're dead next to them, mate. Like, okay.
So here's where I think when this deck came out specifically, not so much the Malk one, but when this deck specifically came out, I think that was a meta shift. So one of our local kind of friendly local game shop owner, Mark, he used to say he sold Vitez. I learned to play from him at his shop in Leeds. Shout out Patriot Games.
Patriot Games.
Patriot Games, Leeds. I learned to play there, and he used to say, because the game is so old and so slow, in the sense that it's not like Magic, it doesn't get a new set every month. Or the stuff that people are talking about from 10, 15, 20 years ago is relevant now.
Yeah.
When these decks got printed, specifically, I think this one, I think that changed. Because whereas Anarch cards before, things like Undue Influence and Skullduggery and all that kind of jazz, they required, the cards didn't exist to play all of them at the same time. All of the disciplines on the card at the same time. Maybe not so much Skullduggery, because I think that requires it, but
other ones like make them as you could have 3, but no one had the plan to play all 3.
There we go, and you had to like do some magic with the with the discipline cards. Now they just
put a quietus on a Nosferatu, and then I'll field training the animalism to this guy, and
exactly. And when you got it off, I never played in that era, but when you got it off, I bet it felt good, because I've got this combo on the go now. Now I'm unstoppable. Yeah. Now I can just go, cool. Marcel comes out first turn. He has everything on. Marcel, he's basic friggin' obfuscate, basic presence, basic protean. That is a bleed at 1 stealth. one bleed, +1 bleed, sorry, and 1 corruption counter, and a 4 cap, who can then pump it with Club Illusion, who can pump it with Revelation. He's bleeding for 4. 4 cap is bleeding for 4 on turn 1 if you want, if that's the start that you got. And the deck just, the crypt just, so things are so quick now. I realize that this isn't, we're not talking about the new Ravnos deck, but I'll just throw that in there as well since it's relevant. You know, Break the Bonds is potentially even more busted than the Platinum Protocol, because you know you lock a vamp, you know, you tap it down, just go no, you know, if you get that first bleed through. So it requires you to play less stealth, which makes it like a power stealth bleed.
Well, is a thing that, like, because I've heard people say about, like, it's just better than Platinum Protocol, and I think they're kind of missing the difference. Like, the setup doesn't get you as far. It's a lot, like, obviously you've got the blood down is very powerful. Being able to put blood down while you're bleeding for 4 is crazy. But you don't have, like, the corruption thing to get bigger bleed boosts later on, or unlocks like you do with the Ministry. And I also think the Ministry having 1 stealth interaction is very powerful, and it depends what decks you're expecting to go against, or which one you want. Because with that +1 stealth, I think it's just incredible against, like, Raven Spy decks. Like, whereas playing Ravnos against something like the Gangrel is going to be a lot harder than playing Ministry against them, because they're going to be able to block you with Ravnos, because you are lower to the ground, you're lower with your stealth, and you're hoping to lock their guys down. But they're gonna have like 20 wakes and like some intercept, which is gonna catch Ravnos, but it won't touch Ministry.
So I'll counterpoint by saying I do agree to a point, right? But if you're playing, so the Gangrel specifically, right, is faster than the Ministry, because all you need to start with the Gangrel deck is turn 2, my 2 cap out on a thing, you know, on turn 3, and all of a sudden you've got a massive swing there of pool and going down to what's the word I'm looking for? I've forgotten the acceleration. You've got a massive swing in acceleration there, which no deck can. I think that's the fastest one no deck can deal with. Or no deck does it faster where a 2 cap can then bring out without information highway stuff with thing. It then starts because you can thing up. You know, you can't govern up. You can't do any of the others up really, apart from Break the Bonds. But you know, that's only 1, whereas thing is 2. So because you can set up so much quicker, it's equally as hard for the Ministry. And trust me when I say this, I've played into Gangrel War. We had a player in our meta for a long time playing Gangrel War. Yes, I've played Ministry into Gangrel War probably more than anyone in Britain has. I would say. I would go as far to say.
I wouldn't know that. Maybe worldwide, to be honest.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, I'm holding that record of coming second place to it for a lot. Yeah, and it doesn't matter. I used to run all as much stealth as I possibly could. I used to run all the tricks of the trade with trying to Donnybrook, trying to even Claws of the Dead, because you wanted to do it after you made sure that they're not going to Earth meld, or you know, doing it at the right point just before prevent. I think I may have beat it once in that entire time, and that was, I would say, luck. I don't think it was any kind of skill on my part. It is so difficult to take a full Gangrel War if you're playing a grinder variant, which is a lot more meta at the moment. So some of the tournament winning decks that I've seen playing Gangrel, that especially that crypt, they're a lot less heavy on the intercept and a lot more on, I'll punch you back for 2, I'll flesh your marble, I'll grind you out a little bit, which, you know, I don't need to talk to you. You wrote the book on grinders, right? So you know, that's a different kettle of fish altogether, because yes, you can get past that, and I agree then that the Ministry is better suited to beating a grinder than it is the Ravnos one is. So yeah, a real difference if it's just straight up wall that's being in front of you. I think both decks are going to have a hard time, and it's going to rely on other people at the table who maybe have a little bit more combat or politics to do something about the wall. Because the thing, I know I've been talking a lot. I'm going to finish my idea and let you speak.
No. That's why I got you on the show for, man.
Yeah, man. The fit. Bro, how long have you got? I could talk all night about Vitas. The Finns have got the right idea, I think, and something that I've now been mulling over for the next tournament I play in is if there's a wall player at the table, the table needs to break the wall down before it gets set up, because otherwise it's just going to sit there and get its engine online and eventually win by inevitability. Things like Smiling Jack and Constant Revolution now they're just everywhere when someone's playing a wall, and it's so pretty easy to defend if you haven't got weight of numbers going at it. So I think combat is the answer to that. The table needs to go at it, or there needs to be a dedicated player at the table. Someone's going to go, right, okay, you're playing Malk Wall, or Spec C type things, or even just
now I definitely feel attacked.
or even just Gangrel Barons, right?
Yeah. No, I think I've made you very angry this weekend. No, you're you're like, you need to destroy the Malk, specifically the Malk Wall.
This gives me PTSD playing against Malk Walls, mate. That's what it is. Just seeing Victoria's Secret week in, week out. It was another tough nut to crack. And what's the answer to that? Either you play things like Kiss of Ra and just be like, cool, go to Torba. And my favorite clan ever in Vites is the Samidis, because I think their combat is just perfect. I don't think there's a better combat package than
I don't think so.
Than Thanatosis and Fortitude. It's just it's so good together. And
Relentless Reaper is what is possibly the best combat card in the game.
Chef's kiss. I mean, Relentless Reaper, the Groaning Corpses, and access to things like Unflinching Persistence and Rigor Mortis, so people can't even get away from you.
Maneuver.
Which is meant to be their weakness, and it's just like, cool, you're just not gonna, unless you've got like 10 Bruges debates on the table. But so my point is that Ravnos, Ministry, they're both going to struggle against walls, and I think if that's how the meta is going to react now, and it reacted quickly after Norwich, it reacted very fast. Middlesbrough was like, cool, 6 decks out of 12 playing walls. I wasn't expecting it. I ain't gonna lie, and it was pretty egregious when I sat down. I was just like, bleed you for 3, cool, bounce over there. Bleed you for 3, cool, bounce over there. I was like, yeah, okay, meta shifted now.
I think me and Anthony need to take some blame for that as well, because we got a lot of positive responses after that Gorchix video. A lot of people reaching out to me asking for advice on wall decks, and which I gave you in the video. I gave that in the video.
Yeah, you gave me the video, guys.
Everyone's just like, okay, what do you think of this wall deck? And like everyone just started playing walls. And I was like, oh, I mean, it was pretty amazing that people actually like found what I said interesting, because that doesn't tend to happen in day to day. So
yeah, well, we have to do a job. We don't have to play Vites, and that's why we're interested in it, right? I think that's what it's good. I mean, stuff like this, just again segueing away from what we're actually talking about. Things that you can add to this deck. I've mentioned it before, the Ministry one specifically. I've mentioned it a few times as Donnybrook. Being able to play two of the modes on that card. Excuse me.
Yeah, burning equipment with it.
I haven't got one to hand at the moment, but yeah, burning
Burn
equipment.
equipment is the obfuscate. I think with
That's the
first
one.
strike, is it, or is it just burn equipment? I can't remember.
That was the part I can't remember off the top of my head. But
and it's aggravated hand strike, and then the Serpentis, which I think steel blood.
It's steel one blood, but that is an edge case one.
Form of the Cobra.
Yeah, exactly. It's a form of the Cobra. But my God, having free aggravated damage again in Protean, which Wolf Claws and Claws of the Dead are the two which spring to mind immediately. We all both cost the blood. Donnybrook, okay, you have to announce your strikers as it, but you're going to play it when you know you've got it through. It was like you were playing Goratrix at Nats, and I got you with that exact trick. It works so much because no one is expecting the stealth bleed deck to just hit ag. You were expecting it as well, which I think made it a little bit worse.
That was really infuriating because I was Magic of the Smithing for the ruins so that I could maneuver away from a Donnybrook, and and you DI'd it.
DI'd it. Again, playing
the ag hands I expected. The DI I did not.
Direct intervention being back in the rotation as well, print on demand is big, and sometimes you just need to say no. And with stealth, and again, this is why do I know to play DI in a stealth bleed deck? Because you can look at a list on the TWDA and go, all right, they're running DI, but you're only going to know what to DI with more that you play that deck.
Yeah. 100%.
Why do I know that Magic of the Smith is something that I DI? Well, first it's a 3 stealth and no one's stopping it. No one ever stops a Magic of the Smith because they're like 3 stealth. I'm going to forget that. It's going to take me like 10 cards. But because Tremere anti-tribute are always going to fetch some sort of dirty equipment that's going to mess your day up because they have the access to it all. Most of the time it's the heart of NIS cheaters. Other times it's a maneuver to get away from it. So absolutely.
If the card's worth shooting up, it's worth stopping. Is generally a good rule of thumb.
Exactly, and if you can stop it, had I not had the DI'd hand at that time, it would have been a different game. But knowing the things to stop, like knowing the things to sudden, knowing the things to wash, bleeding divine, whatever your cancel card is you don't want to just use it because you can. And you're only going to know that by playing more. So, you have to have the bad games. It's the same with anything. If you don't, you're going to learn from the bad games. You're going to learn from the times that you sat there with Ministry or Ravnos or Malk bleeding into a wall and getting bounced or getting you guys torpid. Is going to teach you, okay, right, I know that telepathic misdirection and deflection are just messing my deck up. Do I play any bounce? No, cool. Narrow Minds has been reprinted. Get a copy in. Narrow Minds is combat. Narrow Minds takes blood off more blood than it would off your prey. It's
another good card with Sergio Bueno.
Phenomenal.
See, I personally don't like it myself in decks that are pack and deflection. They're a stealth bleed. Like a friend of ours was playing it in Mark 94, and I played it in Aramanes, and he was like, why are you playing that? You're not bleeding. And I'm like, well, because people deflect onto me, and this stops them doing it, and it grinds the table down, and I'm basically a grinder deck. So, like, that's good for me. And he's like, all right. And he's like, I'm running it in here. And I'm like, why? Because your deflections cost you 2, and it doesn't matter how much blood is on my guy because you're stealth bleeding me. Check out my article on Codex about grinder decks. Link in the description, or I don't know how to link links on the screen, but I like to dance.
We'll figure that out.
But like in that, I basically say about how certain decks attack pool directly and do not care about the blood, other than minion tapping and Villain and Vessel, stuff like that, which is why a lot of these decks run sudden reversal.
Yeah, because you don't want to see your prey suddenly game 5 from a Villain on a. You want that blood squarely not in their pool. That's why usually in lists like this, I've got a sudden and a wash for that exact. But you have when you're playing a fast stealth bleed deck like this, you have to back yourself. You have to play things like the bitter and sweet story event if you can get a hold of one, because that for every VP you get +2 hand size, and that's just that's mad for a deck like this which jams on stealth sometimes.
Going Tony Big Hands in a stealth bleed deck is just the best way to go. Like, grow that hand up, more cards, more cycling.
You have to back yourself, because one of the biggest problems that I think I see in a lot of games, and it comes across all decks, stealth bleed suffers from it a little bit, is the fact that people are sometimes scared of doing what their deck's meant to do, because I've been blocked twice now, and I haven't managed to get through, and I've but that's now 2 sets of cards that the guys have to block you with that he hasn't got. And you're sat there now with 2 platinum protocols in hand. So 100%. If you're not going to do what your deck's designed to do, you've lost the game. And that's one of the things. Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, and if you sit back and wait, the odds of them having the cards when you next go for it are a lot more likely, because they're going to have a turn to play the cards they have got, cycle some cards in their hand, and try and get more gas. And then when it comes back to your next turn, you're going to then try and bleed them. And if they didn't have a way, they'll leave the guy unlocked. So you've got like, there's no problem that they can't fix by you giving them time.
Exactly.
So and keep pushing.
And new players won't see this, and this is something, or hear this in this regard, what my next point is going to be. But it's something that you have to look out for is, if you do that again, the player on your left say, if you do that again, the same thing will happen. Is one of the biggest signs of being like, all right, mate, let's go for it. Let's call the bluff. Because if you don't, as a stealth bleed deck, right? We've mentioned it multiple times in this. You've said that you don't like playing stealth bleed decks because they have to deal with the guy on their left. That's all you can do. If you're not going to talk, you're not going to say someone needs to deal with this guy. Can you rush, or can you do something? Banish one of his dudes so I can get through him. If that's not an option for you on the table, or they don't want to listen to you, then your only option is to continue trying to get through, because you just lose if not. And you can either lose quickly doing what your deck's meant to do and actually get a chance of getting something through, or lose slowly and sit there and look like a lemon.
Well, you never give me the chance to counterpoint before. So I'm going to do it now, because I think what you're saying now is the reason behind you saying about how everyone needs to gangbang the wall deck, because you, as a man who loves playing stealth, is obviously going to always struggle against the wall deck. And now you're setting up this now so you can go to the UK community, hey, I'm in this video, watch it, and they'd be like, oh wow, Simi said this really interesting thing about how we need to get all the intercept off the table so that he can sweep it. I'm going to do that.
I was saying that was the Finnish way of, that was what the Finns say. Go on, carry on.
No, but I think with walls, a lot of people can misunderstand it a lot. They are never the table threat until it's too late, as you kind of said. But I think hitting them straight away is usually a bad impact on the table. I think it's all about they're trying to choose their timing to start pivoting towards a win. And I think you need to try and figure out when that time is and counter them then. Because if you just destroy the wall, that stealth deck's going to roll the table. And you see it happen all the time. With the wall deck stopping, it can stop the table threat, basically. But you've got to kind of be ready for when they are doing this to get themselves in a position that they want to be in. They're trying to manipulate the table into their favor. So you need to be wise enough to see where the pivot is. You've got to be like, okay, so if this happens now, he's the table threat. So we need to deal with him, or we need to stop this action, or we need to this is where we call it. No further support at this point, as obviously like a jack on 7, they're the table threat. At that point it's too late. I could just sacrifice all my guys to keep that jack on 7 alive, and you'll all die.
So a counter to your counterpoint. specifically for this video, right? We're talking about ministry is the main focus, right?
Yes.
So if you're the stealth bleed player, I could put another percentage out of my arse. I ain't gonna, but there's gonna be a lot of the time, yeah, because I'm realizing that my percentage
95% of the time,
95, 202% of the time, yeah, you're gonna lose to the wall, the wall deck.
Oh yeah,
yeah, because if they do get set up, you're gonna get your bleeds are just gonna get bounced or stopped, and you're gonna get ground back with whatever horrendous combat they're packing, especially if you've only, you could form a mist. Yeah, that's maybe 4 bleeds through if you're playing 4, 6 bleeds through if you form misting and you're clever about them. But is that enough to get past? Is that enough to get past a kind of reduced bleed / bounce what the walls are going to play? Because protected district visions of Zapathasra, which isn't clan locked now for some insane reason, can just be played by obviously,
played by ministry, which I've not got around to asking you whether you like it in this deck yet, but we'll get there.
You've got protected districts as well, protected resources, if that ever makes a comeback, but I don't think it will. I tried to get hold of one.
A card which is really powerful if you want to the main ousting mechanic of the game from your deck. Seems like a terrible strategy to me.
Well, I mean, if you're a wall deck and you just don't care about bleeding, you're like, you can't bleed me for 2. Smiling Jack's on 8.
I don't know. You kind of do though. That's the problem with a wall deck. Like those little bleeds to 1 really matter, and even in alternate win conditions, like something like Choir, like you're still reducing the pool. So if you can just sneak a bleed in every now and then, you taking that out for the cost of 2 pool is just wild to me.
That's
a
fair.
Stylistic choice, maybe. But
it's fair. I would maybe if I was playing some sort of like just basically full rush a combat deck. Maybe I just don't care about bleeding. I just want to burn vamps then. But I mean, the point I'm trying to make is that if you're from the ministry's point of view, you do have to turn the table on the wall. Like, that's may not be in the wider context because you have to look, but from my experience, especially if it's next to you as you're praying into it, it's just going to be a bad time.
Well, in my defense, we've gone so off topic, I forgot that we were talking about ministry. So there's a point where I'm like, we've been chatting for like 40 minutes. I could probably cut this out and make a different video out of it, but then you brought it back into ministry without a gap, so I don't know how I can edit that. So
I'm sorry.
It's all right. We'll apologize to the viewers who've listened to us talk about random garbage.
Sorry, viewers. We are good looking, though, at least.
Yeah, handsome fellas. There's someone sitting around with their newly bought ministry deck, band out in front of them, going, "What does this button do?" And they're watching our video, going, "Wow, they're going to explain everything," and we're talking about like Nurgle Soul Gen decks and whatever.
advanced level, like top level championship stuff.
While we're chatting about walls and stuff, let's talk about matchups. If we look at the precon decks that we've got, walls are obviously the main issue. They have to break that wall or they're not getting anywhere, or sit to the left of it, at which point they might be all right.
If you get your positioning correct, then there's not much that they're going to be able to do to stop you on the right. Absolutely. Which is always the best position to sit if you ever get to a final. Just right off the wall deck, let them do what they're going to do and get you 3 VPs. 4 VPs.
They're gonna try and interfere with you, but you got that natural stealth that it's always going to be an uphill struggle for them. And so it's important to remember, playing a stealth bleed deck, you win with 3 VPs. This is the biggest deck for winning on 3 and then getting ousted. So the wall deck takes you out 1v1. They get 2 points. You get 3. You get the game win. So
it's exactly what you want.
That's totally fine with this deck. You can just sacrifice yourself at the end of the game as long as you win.
Yeah, it's exactly what you want. You don't want to listen too much to the wall player on your right either. Yeah. Just go left, turn your cards. Hit that stealth, hit them bleed pumps, and if they try and bleed you for anything or bounce stuff into you, you've got that reduce in hand to say no.
Yeah. the only time you might want to interact with them is if the jack's getting threatening and you have to get rid of key cards, something like that.
Well, sometimes I find if a war player's played Smiling Jack early enough and they're on your right or far enough away that it doesn't matter, it really helps the stealth bleed deck. Just them extra bits of blood or pool coming off your prey and your grand prey. It's the same with things like Antediluvian Awakening, so it's the same kind of effect, or maybe not so much constant rev, because that's really bad for your hands, unless you just got a terrible one you want to cycle stealth. But any kind of clock cards like that, so Judgment, Camarilla Segregation is another one comes to mind. Jack, constant Antediluvian Awakening, Anarch Revolt in the not
very good for you.
Yeah,
very good for you because you don't lose anything.
Yeah, phenomenal cards to keep on the table for as long as it's helping you. You can really speed up your first and second oust if they play them early enough.
So let's look at the other precons. You've mentioned
matchup
Gangrel.
wise, Gangrel's
possibly the worst.
Not the precon. The precon's probably okay because it's not quite as intercepty as when it's been honed. So I wouldn't be too fussed about that. But yeah, you can. It has a possibility. It has bleed reduce as well in that, doesn't it? From the I can't remember the card now. Deep Ecology.
Deep Ecology, yeah.
Deep Ecology has bleed reduce.
Reduces for 2.
And if they are packing some organized resistances and any kind of other intercept, you are going to have a bad time. It's going to be very tough because the Gangrel want to be locked, so they want to do their bleeding, and then they want organized resistance to stop you from bleeding.
Yeah, the good news is your combat ends are very good against them.
Yeah,
unless they picked up the new blood and they've put Dog Pack in the deck, probably worth blocking that.
Yeah, Dog Pack is one of the biggest DIs to strike combat deck that you'll ever see. You want a DI removed from game, removed from anything. You don't want to just have your stock strike.
Are you sure you wouldn't be tempted to the fact it costs them 2 pool to play?
If your bleeds are getting through and they're not really stopping you or not bouncing you, then you don't care about them putting a 2 pool Dog Pack on. Absolutely, but that's a choice that you can make in game. Over on the whole, I don't think it's a great card for you to have let on the table if you can do anything about it.
Yeah, because it's not only being blocked, but I can't remember, did they have access to Deep Song in that deck as well? I'm not sure, but if they can enter combat with you, you're in trouble as well.
I don't think they've got much animalism, but you've usually got some randomer playing, putting an open war down, so they can just go, "Oh, cool, rush the ministry backwards."
Exactly. Yeah.
So there are. And again, if they do manage to block anything of you, you're going to have a bad time. You can get body flared or something like that because that got reprinted.
Well, with cards like with Banu Hakim, I think in a similar way, they've got pretty much nothing in intercept, so it's good for you if they're on the left.
Banu Hakim's a good one.
But Hunter's Mark could be a problem for you. But I'm actually thinking that for them to stop your combat ending, they need the bigger vampires. And you can kind of just rescue and carry on. I don't think Hunter's Mark does enough.
There's two schools of thought about the Hunter's Mark. It's got no stealth on it ever, because even if they do play a Swallowed by the Night or something, because that's usually the stealth card that deck plays.
Yeah, Resist Earth's Grasp as well.
Possibly Resist Earth. If they get it to 2 stealth, they're probably in, and they've wasted a lot of resources and a blood using Resist Earth grasp on you. But usually you can get away with just, even if it's on the vamp, that if you've got an unlocked vamp, you just block it and then none of it happens and you just strike combat ends out. You do have to just make, I think 3 is the magic number with when you're bleeding into Banu Hakim, because generally the Prince is going to second trad, and that's all the intercept they're ever going to get. If they have Market Square out, that's 3, and and I think there's probably one or two more, but you'll see them. They're generally on the table.
Yeah.
If someone's being really greedy, in the Banu Hakim New Blood, they did print Elder Intervention, which is another 2 intercept.
Wow.
So if they really want to catch you, they can get up to 4, maybe 5.
Wow. Imagine that. Now it was a magical Christmas land.
That's what I'm saying. But form of mist just goes, "I'll call you locked again."
Exactly. Yeah.
There's
And they can't play another second tradition domain because it's the same action. So you don't even have to worry about awaken block because they tend not to run on the TV either.
Those two are can be pretty bad because they can do damage in combat to the ministry. The other one, which is pretty bad, is the Brujas. They can really mess your day up because infinite maneuvers if they're playing Brujas Debate, because Brujas Debate was reprinted in the New Blood. If not, they have access to Strike Combat Ends, his biggest bane, and Mortal Grapple.
Yeah, plus Line Brawl, their version of Platinum Protocol, is a enter combat card. They've also got Theo Bell, who's just got it printed on him.
Just enter combat.
They're going to fight you, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Open War was reprinted in New Blood as well.
True, yeah.
They've got multiple ways of getting into combat with you, and they will. I think if you on either side, if you're preying into them or being preyed on, I think you're gonna have a rough time with that because they're gonna want to fight, or they should want to fight. The more that the newer players learn about that Bruges deck is that they know it's probably one of the better ones in a fight currently because of Bruges Debate and the fact you're never getting away from them.
Yeah.
And Dust Up is dumb.
Yeah.
Strike dodge with an additional strike. Yeah, you can't ag poke that with Ministry.
Yeah. Which compared to Acrobatics, which is an advanced celerity, does that and still costs the blood, and you need the advanced. So like Dust Up does that with 2 other options. So you can Dust Up and then additional strike, use a Dust Up again to play the potence for extra strength. Silly good. Really powerful card. You can run like 20 of it, and that's your entire combat package in Bruges Debate. Yeah. It's just silly.
They also have access to Diversion because that's an additional strike for most of their vamps. The worst part, the most egregious part about it is that they put a Child of the Revolution down, give it celerity, and then go punch you for 5.
Yeah.
With strike dodge, additional strike, 3-4 Bruges Debates down.
Yeah.
So you really have to be careful about that getting out of hand when you're playing this Ministry deck. You don't want to get caught much. You can afford a little bit because if they don't grapple you, your Strike Combat Ends is still live. If they do grapple you, start looking at building up a new vamp, I think, because you might be able to rescue it with your stealth. You really want to be spending your stealth on pushing the bleeds through.
Yeah, but this is another good use for the Donnybrook as well. If they do grapple you, they lock you into hand strike, which can be a card, so you can play.
Yep, mutually assured destruction is absolutely a way, especially if they've grappled you with a high value target. So if they use
like Theo Bell,
Aline Gadecki, Valeria Zinovieva. Sorry, I think.
The other thing is if you get your guy torpid and then you torpid their Theo Bell and you've got nothing out, you can easily talk someone into double dabbing that Theo Bell because they know it's not coming for you next turn, which means it's going for someone else. So people are happy to get the person who's going to beat the crap out of the vampires off the table.
Absolutely. Interestingly enough, the Ministry Precon does come with an ivory bow.
Oh.
So it comes with ivory bow and Codec of the Edenic Groundskeepers, which I think is slightly weird in it. Because it's usually required. That usually is great for when you've got rid of all your Prez vamps and you can just go bleed for 4 at -1 stuff.
I was thinking of it in Ravens because of all the lockdown.
Yeah, absolutely. It might be useful in there. But yeah, the ivory bow is a thing which is a great deterrent. And also gives Hesha Ruhad a additional bleed because it's a unique equipment, and so it turns his ability on a little bit. So it's always, if it's pure precon and you do like the Ivory Bow, you like having that kind of deterrent in there, it's a great deterrent to have, because people generally ain't going to rush someone with an Ivory Bow unless they know for sure, for certain, that they've got the grapple, and you're not going to cancel the grapple with the DI or something.
That's another thing that makes Dust Up so incredible. Like the Bruges are always one of the best combat clans, but they always have the downside if they couldn't take the damage back. Whereas Dust Up gives them the ability to dodge whatever the hell you're doing, and then just hit you really hard.
Yeah, they've got to have
a huge element in defense too.
Yep, they absolutely have the answers to it. But yeah, the Ivory Bow gives you a tiny bit of safety against that. I think they're the three precons which are the most. Are there any more in that new set of the Von True one? If we're going back to the first set of V5s,
include those,
yeah, because that's a really, really solid grindy deck, and I guess the Tremere one in that regard as well, probably kind of your next tier down, because whereas they're not going to do much in the way of blocking you too hard, they've got dominate, so they're going to bounce your bleeds across, which the only thing worse than having it blocked is having it bounce somewhere where you just don't want it happening at that time, which is usually
have a bunch of intercept as well, because don't forget there's Eyes of Argus in there. And Bowler Convergence, they've got a few options against them.
Yeah, it's just true. They are all specs. So yeah, I can't remember the precon off the top of my head, but I think it's quite balanced between the. I know it's got a lot of telepathics, and has it got telepathics and deflection in there?
Yeah, I think it's got a few deflection, but
they're gonna. What a smart Tremere player or smart Voluntary player will do will block it just enough so you get the stealth on it and then bounce it across, and makes it hard for the Grand Prey to your Grand Prey, their prey to. That's what you really have to look out for in play stealth speed, because it's very hard to mix up, because you have to. If a Von True's got a Prince, okay, second tradition, 2 intercept, you have to get to 3 to even attempt to get past it, and then all they're going to do is bounce you across. So if that's in your meta, a few more Form of Mists, because it's perfect to get caught in the first, second tradition, so they lock themselves and then Form of Mist past it, because that, as we said earlier, can't form of they can't second tradition again. So sometimes don't, even if you might have it in hand and you might want to go, but I've got the Lost in Crowds or the Faceless Knight. It's worth them that they're not going to be running as much intercept in these types of decks as you are stealth, because it is just for that. They're playing the man as opposed to the deck. They're playing or the person, sorry, as more than the deck, because they're going to say, okay, this person's just going to stealth it past. That's fine, because I can bounce that all day. They're not going to expect you to go, okay, yeah, you've caught me on the 2 intercept, fine. Form of Mist, and you've also, if on the times that it does happen, because it will happen, that you just can get bounced across straight away at a stealth, because Platinum Protocol is at a stealth. You do have access to Spy Mission, so you can stop and save that bleed for the next time that you get that player, which hopefully is after you've ousted and not another bounce from the same dude. So yeah, Spy Mission extremely strong in scenarios when you're playing against the Tremere and Voluntary, who are going to really want to bounce you, or just catch you, get into a fight and steal 2 blood, or smack you with a walking stick. There's also that. But as we said, strike combat ends is quite good against that kind of thing.
Yeah, you brought up an interesting point that I kind of want to mention, because a lot of players don't get this for quite a while. So, like we mentioned, we touched on earlier, second tradition domain unlocks the Prince, the cost for blood, and lets them attempt to block a 2 intercept. So if someone blocks you, you can then play Form of Mist, and that vampire's locked and can't attempt to block again. But if they play on the key Vive and block, and then you Form a Mist, that vampire still has the effect of on the key Vive, so it's unlocked and can attempt to block. You'll get your stealth from your Form a Mist, and you'll get any other stealth still that you've played previously. All the cards are still active from the action. So it's worth looking out for that. If they play on the key Vive, you want to over stealth it rather than get caught and carry on. That Form of Mist against the second tradition can be a game winner on its own. But you do need to watch out for certain cards, like if against Banu Hakim, if they play Psych and restart the combat, you won't get to continue, and you'll have to fight them again. You've got to be very careful of a lot of cards that can blow you out with Form of Mist.
And this is so bringing back to a point I said earlier. If you guys remember, it's absolutely there are no 90% decks. Do you know what I mean? There's no 50% decks, because stuff like this is going to happen where you're going to be like, okay, cool, that combo of cards came up where I can't do anything about.
Yeah.
GG. I have go next game. Think about the next game. If you're getting caught like that, you have to, because that's not your deck being bad. You know, this is where you got to remember that your deck isn't bad because you can't beat a certain type of deck. You just can't beat that type of deck. It's a rock, paper, scissors, lizard, Spock type thing, because there's a few more than just the three. You do have to just remember that, okay, you're banging your head against the wall. Fine. Yeah, next game you'll have someone who's not playing a wall, someone who's going to try and get their combo off, and you've got an easy oust.
So he's not playing that specific card out of the 3,000 available that you've decided to. Yeah.
Key point from that though: difference between wake effect and unlock effect. Unlock is inferior to Form of Mist, whereas wake, you want to try and over stealth it, but then they can still bounce because they're woke.
They're awake.
Get woke. Get woke. There are checks and balances to every card, most cards in this game, which is
pay attention to the details. When people when you play, when you explain to someone what your card does, if it says unlock like Eyes of the Wild does, you don't tell people it's awake, because you need to say it's an unlock, because it makes a difference.
It's very specific, and you can quickly see the stuff that's in the meta at the moment on the key Vive, second tradition, organized resistance.
It's a big one.
It will say on the cards, they're all got new printings. It will say this vampire wakes or this vampire unlocks, and there is a big difference.
It's probably a good time to wrap it up, because we're heading towards quite a long record. I don't know how long it lets me record for you, so but it's 11 o'clock and we met at 9, so it's
it's what happens. We chat like old fishwives.
Yeah, man. You do look like fish as well. And smell like them.
Well, hopefully not. You're gonna go jump in bed with my wife. She'll smell like fish, but I ain't showering now. You have to deal with it.
I was just chatting to my mates, so
I know that's what happens. Get sweaty. But yeah, wrap up points then. Stealth bleed good, walls bad. +1 stealth good, +1 bleed good, +1 intercept bad.
So main thing is take out those enchant kindreds and put more platinum protocols in, right? That's the takeaway.
Yeah, you can if you're going to play with the big caps, you're going to play with non-Udis, then keep them in, because crypt acceleration
is very good.
Yeah,
we haven't even mentioned him. He's really good. Free beta turn.
He's phenomenal if you're playing masters every turn. But if you're playing the version that I like, which is with the 6 caps and below, no enchant kindreds, no enchantments, no heart of the city, just platinum protocols between 12 and 20, depending on how brutal you want to be. Loads of revelations of the serpent, loads of true love's faces, other stealth cards in there as well. Form of Mist against, and then remember the unlock versus wake discussion when it comes to that. And Dabbler, if you get access to Dabbler, because that gives you free unlocks
It's in the new blood, right? It's in the new blood list.
Yeah, I think it
I've picked her up
is.
just for that. Honestly,
Yeah,
you get 2 copies.
you
And
get 2 copies. Yeah,
It's incredible. That blood we've mentioned plenty on this channel. If you play 3 disciplines worth of cards during an action, which Platinum Protocol automatically qualifies for, then you get a blood, or you can burn a blood to unlock.
yeah, which is absolutely brilliant for getting rid of all the on the key Vivs in the deck. If you want to keep in a few, you can. I guess it's stylistic.
Yeah,
And 10 party, 8 to 10 party out of bounds, because party out of bounds.
party, have a party out of bounds.
Yeah, because reducing bleeds by 2 is gain 2 pool. It's just it's phenomenal for keeping you alive, just alive enough, and it's that margin of with this deck specifically, and to a point the Ravenous one is keeping yourself alive just enough so you can carry on going around the corner, because that's the beauty of the cards available, Platinum Protocol and Party Out of Bounds. It allows you to do that, to play on a knife edge and win.
Yeah, powerful stuff.
Powerful stuff.
Powerful
yeah.
stuff.
You know what really grinds my gears?
Ventry Stickman, really good at grinding. So,
everything.
Are you still streaming, or have you not done it in a while?
I started a new job last October or November, so ever since then, I've kind of had to focus a lot more attention on that, and got 2 young children as well who don't allow me to do much in the evening. So it'll be
absolute nerve.
I know. What can you do? I will be back streaming, and it will be nothing to do with VTES.
Link in the description.
Link in the description. There we go. Link in the description to my channel. Watch some of my VODs. I play Guitar Hero.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, so absolutely we'll be back, and hopefully we start streaming some games of VTES as well. Like that should be the next
great,
thing.
Yeah,
that should be the next thing.
I've been talking about doing that, yeah, but I don't really. I need to figure out the semantics of, but like I think it's doable. Just like recording Wacky and recording Discord or something at the same time. We'll make it work.
And if you guys have made it this far, like, well done, and you will have learned a lot. Let's put it that way.
I think everyone's asleep now, so should we just like say suggestive messages?
Yeah.
Subscribe to Tabletop. Do some ASMR, Simmy.
Say that again because I cut you out.
Subscribe to Lies from the Tabletop. Suggestive messaging.
Even Niosh. If you get that one, you are OG.
Let the wall deck win. Let the wall deck win.
Burn the walls. Burn the walls. Break them down.
It sounded very Game of Thrones like that. Burn the walls, like it was all just gonna. There you go. It's a good card.
Oh, they'll disappear.
Just took you out of the picture then.
Disappear into the carrion crows.
Well, thanks for coming on anyway, man. Mr. Infinite himself. It's been
Thank you very much for the invite, and I look forward to coming on again.
Oh, you do? Oh, okay. This is awkward.